Hello and welcome, welcome to Narrate Your Story TV. This is the show that we bring to you every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. My name is Dr. Christy Iwujuku, and you know I'm coming to you all the way from the Sunshine State of California, the beautiful city of Sacramento. So today I am super excited because the show today is such an awesome show. That's right. Why? Because I am bringing to you today a young woman all the way from Kenya, Africa. And her name is Dr. Soyum Shah. So let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. Now, Dr. Sonjan Shah is from Nairobi, Kenya. She started her work at the very early age of 6 years. That's right, 6 years old. She has been doing this work. She is currently the director of Creative Innovative Limited in Kenya. And I can't even begin to tell you so many things that she is involved in. And one of her biggest passion is to serve the youth. That's right. Helping the youth, empowering the youth, modeling for the youth. Why? Because the youth are our future. So she has a big passion. She is a member of the Lions Club. And if you know about Lions Club, they really volunteer to help other people. And she has served so many people. She has served over 10,000 people. She's also involved in caring and helping people with diabetes. Like I said, her work spans across the nation. And just to tell you who's coming to the show, who better tell us about her than Dr. Sonjan Shah. Please welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Christy, and I'm honored to be on your show today. And good morning and good evening to all our viewers around the world. And thank you for tuning in. I am Dr. Soyum Shah, and I am from Nairobi, Kenya. And I have basically what Dr. Christy said is a brief about me. By profession, I am the head of marketing and communications at the Kingsway Tires Group. And on the other hand, I'm affiliated with other institutes around in Kenya to help and serve the needy.
Awesome. Oh my God. I was looking at your bio. Wow. You have done and continue to do amazing work with women, with youths in Kenya and beyond Kenya, as a matter of fact, and beyond Kenya. So tell us how did you get into this work? What was your passion as early as 6 years old? 6 years old. Oh my God. When some of us were still playing with our dolls, you already got in doing this work. What got you into doing this work?
Well, growing up in a philanthropic family, both my parents and my grandmother were all philanthropists. And from a tender age of 3, my father used to carry me on his arms when he used to go and do activities. So I grew up seeing what people out there actually needed. Then it came a point in time where I had to start celebrating my birthdays. And my parents encouraged me that instead of having a birthday party, let's go to an orphanage home and let's donate food. So they instilled these conditions in me. So as I grew older, and when I was 6 years old is when I actually got to explore the world and visit my first International Lions Convention, where I met other like-minded people around the world. And I was only 6 years old at that time. And as I came back, my parents said, okay, now what do you want to do? So that's when I started taking my peers on my birthday to the orphanages. And that's when the story started of me leading a small group of people to go and celebrate our birthdays at the orphanages. When I grew into my high school at the age of 12, we started a Leo club. And at the Leo club is where we could get more other youths as community service. And that's where we started doing it as an after school initiative. That started becoming successful, and then we started implementing the same kind of model in other schools. And that's how we ended up growing more youth into more clubs and doing it part of the school community service. Now, living in a third world country, you see so much poverty and people who need a lot of things around you. But because you get so used to seeing it, it just becomes part of an everyday life that people forget about doing something about it, forget about helping those people, forget about what they go through. We go to school, we are happy, we come home, and on the way home, we'll see a street kid on the road. But then what happens to that street kid? But we get so used to seeing it that we even forget to even wonder. And the minute on CNN something happens or poverty AIDS, everyone is like, wow, the poverty rate in Kenya is so big and the biggest, largest slum is here, and likewise around the world. And that's when we're like, okay, well, we live here, let's do something about it. Don't just watch. And then as I grew up, and I went to college. I started I started working with peers around the globe, and that's when we started doing joint activities to help other countries. And as I got back, I said, now it's my mission to now grow and still develop. And that's how I started making more clubs and using people with like-minded interests in helping society with what they believe and what interests them. And I realized that this is going to be a driving force in actually being able to implement and execute it.
Wow. I mean, I have to commend you for the work that you do around the world, especially in this pandemic. A lot of people are suffering, and I have often said that to a certain extent, it feels like we have really failed the youth of these days, and a lot of suicide, a lot of things going on, and because we don't know what they are going through, sometimes it's difficult to help them. And by the time we get to help them, it's already too late. You know, Dr. Sonjan, I've always said that I want to say get to the top, but you're still very young. So I wonder how the journey while you were in the valley, I don't even know that you've had a chance to be in the valley because you're very young. But how was that walk coming from where you were to doing the work that you do now? Now, I understand you are quite influenced by your parents, who's also doing amazing work around the world. So, how has that journey been for you, going from there to here, where you are now impacting youth around the world?
Dr. Christie, my father also has the same philosophy as you. The only analogies he uses is you cannot press the elevator to reach the top floor, you have to walk the stairs. And because of that, I am only somewhere halfway there. I have not reached the top, and I'm still walking through the valley. And my journey has been very tedious.
Hmm.
From my father's learnings, he had to take up his business since a really young age of 16. And he has seen a lot of hardships around the world and in everything that he's done. As I was growing up, I was very fortunate to keep hearing his stories. And because of the values that he instilled in me, he also didn't want to give me everything on a silver platter, even though I am more blessed than he is. So, because of that, he made me go through a journey where I had to do everything and anything, because he believes that no job is big or small for anyone. So we had to learn it, and during that process, I had to go around all the struggles, and I had to step in all the dirty trades. And at some point in time, I also got frustrated and even took a sabbatical because I got lost. But because of his values that he instilled in me, and I almost gave up, but thank God he kept pushing me and driving me. And that's where I am today. And it was not always a rosy journey. But then when you have a passion for something that you love and you're going to do really good at, and you enjoy doing it with all your heart, it makes all the difference in the world. And today, Dr. Christie, I'm the one running and he's the one telling me to walk.
You said something, and I don't want to forget what you said. And I want the audience to really listen again on what you said. There's a quote that you have about your dad. Say that quote again. You said that your dad told you to walk instead of say that about the stairs, going through the stairs.
I have to climb the stairs to reach the 24th floor. I cannot press a button on an elevator to make me go there.
Awesome, awesome. Listen, oh my God. As our audience, our listeners are listening in right now, I want you to take us back to when you were starting out in doing this work. What are some of the problems that the particular problems that you see, especially with the youth and women?
Well, the biggest thing I could see with the youth is them taking a lot of things for granted, opposed to having to value everything that they have. Youths today are very fortunate in everything that they have compared to our senior generation. And our senior generation had to work really hard, and because of that, they had to learn through experiences. Youth today work through knowledge. And because of how hard our parents worked, we are more privileged to get education of one sort to another. In the process, we have forgotten our core values of what our parents instilled in us. Yes, the youth have a lot of advantage. We have education, we have knowledge, but at the same time, we also have a lot of greed. We finish education and then we feel that, okay, we're already qualified, let's just move up and let's go ahead. And why should I waste my time doing other things? Where our senior generation, they themselves feel like, how can I make them work harder? How can I teach them that experience works? How can we bridge the gaps in between both of us to make it a better workplace for everyone and also in humanity? As I was starting this work, I also had a lot of challenges, but also I trust me, I'm also very blessed because my father always taught me about innovation and creativity. And his motto was always, if you don't try, you never know. And if you fail, you'll pick yourself up and you'll do it again. So whilst I was at the journey of inspiring the youth and transitioning, he says, just try it out. Do things that like-minded youth would want to do. Get them into things that interest them. Don't force them into things that they don't want to do. And over time, once they do it and they get the value of it, that's when they're going to learn the importance. And that's how we're going to be able to work together to bridge the gaps. As far as women go, women have gone through a huge challenge in their lives, some of which is not also the men's fault, because it's not the fault that the men were brought up in a certain way and women were brought up in a certain way and there were perceptions for one another. But over time, women have also been bold enough to work hard, to grow, to speak for themselves, and men also value that. Men are also starting to appreciate the fact that women have a voice. And trust me, myself, in my career, being a female in a male dominated industry was a big challenge. And even in my family, I was the first girl who broke the norms of, joining an automotive industry. But when you have a positive vision and you have a positive attitude, and when you have a solution to everything, then there's always any possibilities that one can imagine. Always dream with your eyes open, and anything can be successful.
Always dream with your eyes open, and anything can be successful. I love that. I love that. I mean, I can't even believe that you are doing all this work as young as you are. That tells you that children, youth can absorb so much, but it has to be where they are empowered. It has to be where they are given the tools. And I know some people may abuse the tools or may not want to use the tools. Tell us how you've been able to do all this work across the globe. How have you been able to do it in terms of empowering the youth?
So, for the youths, how I've been able to do it is the first and most important thing is to listen. If you listen to the voices of the youth, you will be able to understand them without a decisive conclusion. After you listen and you understand, you're able to coach and guide them and mentor them into how they want to progress in whatever it is, whether it's in philanthropic, whether it is in leadership, in anything they do. Also, youths today, it's always a tick for tack. If
Mm.
you explain to them how what you do is going to have an impact on them, impact on their CV, impact on their brand value, on their name, on their portfolio, they will understand the benefit of what they're doing will help them. Even something like handling a small club of youth people, it's showing you leadership skills, it's showing you communication skills, it's showing your organization and execution. If you're going to teach them, if everything they do in philanthropic is also going to help their leadership styles, it's always showing them that here is a win. Like, you are going to progress in even working as a team together. And once you listen to them, you also are able to identify what it is that they're passionate about. There is no point forcing someone to do something that they don't want to do or they're not interested in. The minute that they start showing that passion and interest, and the minute that you start teaching them how it's going to benefit them in one way or another, in any small, big way, that's the time where we'll be able to work with others, work with other generations groups, even the generation below us. That's how we're going to be able to condition the youth of tomorrow, the Gen Z that we have at the moment, from millennials to Gen Z. That's how we are going to be able to change their era. So it's as simple as that: listening, understanding, and guiding and coaching, and giving them something to be able to say that, look, it's going to teach you a lot of value. And tomorrow, someone is going to know who you are for doing what you've done.
I love that. In other words, you basically saying that these youths, they have their own ambition, they have what they want to do, they have their own passion, but sometimes some of them may be confused, especially in this microwavable world that we live in now. And you know, it's almost like saying, what I'm hearing you saying is, what's in it for me? And if they can find out that how what you're telling them, how what you are doing is going to impact their world, they are more able, or they are able to follow suit. Is that right?
Yes, that is 100% right.
And that leads me into the next question, and which is, let's talk about the generational gap. Because right now, There are three generations, I think, and one is not understanding the other one. We are the senior generations, and you guys are coming for, and there's people after you guys too, and there are people in the middle. Let's talk about, share more light on the generational gap that we are dealing with right now.
So, as I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest factors in generational gaps is education. And our previous generation, they did not have the ability to have a lot of education that we have. And because of that, the youth today have grown bigger egos and they have a lot more attitude, and they feel that once they finish school, and even when they're in school, they feel they're always sometimes downplaying the seniors. Even the language they use sometimes is disrespectful, that you don't know what I've learned, and you don't understand anything about technology, and you don't even understand Facebook and how to do things. So we are always putting the seniors down because we feel that we have bigger egos, instead of teaching them and working with them to make them understand. So that has been a big factor, even in the attitudes in a workplace or in a philanthropic or in anything that they want to do, because it's also my way or the highway.
Mm,
Citizens have worked through so much experience. Today, Dr. Christie, you're sitting here today with so much wisdom because of all the experience that you have seen and you have lived through. The other day, we were talking about a 6-month-old baby and a mother leaving the baby, but
mm,
you've seen all of this. Now, I'm going through that phase where I can understand what my mom went through, but I can also see my sister and her own ambitions with children. It's trying to understand both generations as to why they do it. Now, understanding from my parents' generation what they went through and the values that they instilled, but also appreciating the fact that they've worked so hard and done so much to be where they are today. Now, if we don't take a step back and understand where they came from, and they didn't even have to walk the mountain, they had to walk the mountain without any gear, without any sticks. Here we have a backpack and we have our walkers, and we're okay to keep walking up because we have a sense of comfort. Now they didn't have that. My father also had a responsibility of handling a house of 45 people at the tender age of 16. And I don't have to worry about that at the moment. But because of that, it's really important to understand your foundations. But see, the problem here comes down to communication and understanding. If everyone can just have a simple conversation without putting one down or the other down, and if we can all listen to what each other are saying without a predecisive conclusion. The other thing is, in society, if I'm talking to you and you have already had a conclusion in your head, even if what I may be saying is right, to you, you would not agree with it, and that's how we start getting into conflicts. But if we just listen, understand, and analyze what the other one is saying, we'll come to a better understanding. And in turn, we will be able to teach our seniors on what systems and processes and technologies and how to work and understand the youth of today. And also, we will be able to appreciate the experience and the wisdom from our seniors today. And it all comes down to communication.
wow, you spoke very well. You spoke well because communication is really the conversation of between one another. And you mentioned about preconceived notion. When you're speaking to someone, when you are having a conversation with someone, and that person already have a preconceived notion. In other words, the mind is not a clean state. And when the mind is not a clean slate, it's very difficult for that person to soak in what you are saying because they are busy getting ready for the rebuttal. They are busy getting ready for what they are going to say next. And as long as the mind doesn't have that clean slate, it's pretty much difficult for you to understand the other person because you're really not trying to understand the other person. You're seeking to be understood instead of trying to understand the other person.
And
So,
you're also
go
seeking to
ahead,
be right.
go ahead, go ahead.
You're also seeking to be right, even if you're wrong.
Yeah, absolutely right. You are absolutely right. That's what I was going to get into because sometimes we think that keeping quiet, silence when you have been wronged means that you're weak. But that's not necessarily true. Sometimes we choose to keep silence, to keep peace. We choose to keep silence depending on who you're talking to because you value the relationship between you and that person. That's why you keep silence. It doesn't always mean that you're wrong. You just choose because of the relationship between you and that person. They need that for you to be right. You just subsided. And so tell us in your own work, how do you think that your work has helped humanity or is even going to continue to help humanity? Because we're talking about the future, which is we're talking about the youth and we're talking about the women. So, how do you think your work has helped serve humanity?
Dr. Christie, I'm not sure how to answer that because the what I do is I do it from my heart. I'm not doing this for any reason. And the reason I say this is because I was instilled with this since a very young age. And I have seen it live, and I always believe work with action, both in your personal life, in your philanthropic life, your career life. Make your life meaningful, whatever that means to you or anyone else. And the reason I say this is because growing up, I always had a passion and a drive for serving humanity in one way or another. I had a passion of drive to build, to work in the automotive industry. I had a passion and a drive to share what I could with anyone. Now, also coming back to my father again, he's grown up to where he is today, and he tells me one thing. He says that, why have I learned so much and done so much in my life if I cannot share my knowledge with
Mhm.
everyone else? If I cannot live to inspire anyone else? What have I done in my life today if it means no value? Who am I living for? My children are grown up, I am here, and I've worked so hard to be where I am. So why not share it? I'm not going to die with all my knowledge and all my wisdom. So why not inspire as many? So, because of that philosophy, he's also taught me whatever you learn in life, whatever you do, share it with as many people you can. Impact the lives of anyone you can. Because what use is it to you to keep it to yourself? What are you going to do with it? Be a selfish human who only grows yourself and leaves everyone behind. That's not what you're here for. That's not your purpose in life. You are still young, and I am giving you the power and the tools, and I'm here with you to help you in whatever way. Dr. Rivers himself has given me a platform, many platforms to work with the youth, to engage with them, to help them share their voices and create a legacy for themselves. And together, me, you, and everyone else is going to be able to make a better tomorrow. So at the end of the day, whether I have helped humanity, I am very grateful. but it is something that I drive to constantly do for as long as I can in any simple way I can.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I love that. When you share your knowledge, you're really impacting generations to come. When you share your knowledge, you never know who you are going to impact and the impact that what you're sharing is going to have on someone else, maybe a youth who is getting ready to commit suicide, maybe a youth who is getting ready to get pregnant at a very early age, and that will stagnate that person's growth in some cases. You never really know. And so you are absolutely right when you said, what is it that you can have the knowledge and you don't share it? What do you get out of it? When we all die, we're going to die with whatever we have left. And I'm hoping that I don't have much and I don't have anything left by the time I die. And that's the reason we're all doing what we're doing, to be able to share our knowledge and impact other people with it. And you talk about specifically for women, empowering the women. What work do you do for women?
For women, I do a lot. My passion has also been women from a very young age, growing up in an alpha male household, but being very privileged that the males are so lovely because we're a bunch of princesses and given us all the opportunities. But jokes aside, we started doing microfinance projects for them to start helping them, empower them, and helping them get on their own feet with the small capital we could give them. We also work a lot with the sanitary tower project and the hygiene project. But in addition to also just giving them the sanitary towels, we also talk to them and take our time to counsel them. And in the process, I've actually got some few schoolgirls that I sit and I coach and I talk to all the time. Then we have areas here where they prefer to get pregnant because it's cheaper than having to buy sanitary towels. And they usually use cow dung and they use newspaper and they use all sorts of things which cause them a lot of infections. And because of that, we now start counseling them, and we are also finding them tools for menstrual cycle. So it's called the Freedom for Girls projects, the menstrual cups, and many other things of that. We also work very closely with the Special Olympics, and especially the youth and the girls, both of them, to see that you are able, you're not disabled, and in one way or in many ways. And I can go into details about all these programs, but it is something that we do with also Dr. Lococo's program of Challenge Champions and Heroes. We also help in from our foundation. We also give scholarship for girls for their education and give them a platform to grow. And most importantly, one of my favorite projects is the Beyond Zero, the maternal mortality program. And that is about all the female genitalations and pretty much that.
Wow, wow. Female oh my goodness. It's amazing to know that even up to date that is still going on around the world, depending on what environment, what country, what culture. But it's really amazing that it's still going on at at this moment that we are talking. A girl is going through that right now. And I don't think that a lot has been done. Or should I say, even if a lot has been done, I think it will take a lot more to have that old belief to go away. Because people that started this old belief, some of them are still alive today. And it's almost like you have to have all of them gone before this belief is gone in our society. It shouldn't have to be. Girls don't have to go through that. But unfortunately, they are going through that. So thank you so much for the work that you and your family, because this is becomes a family business. All of you are doing basically the same thing. So for these women, you talked about the sanitary towel for women. And I don't know whether you know Dr. Tracy Ward, and she's also involved in that with her own initiative that she's doing in Kenya. And is it how can, if anybody is watching this and they find it somewhere in their heart to say, oh my God, I can help, how can they help?
Well, I actually work with Dr. Tracy Ward on that project Thrive, and we have done quite a few of them here, and they've been very successful. And what happens in those videos is that, and in those activities, is we give the girls an opportunity to tell their story. We give we give those girls an opportunity to share their struggles that they go through on a day-to-day basis. And we were even fortunate that we had Dr. West join us in our last activity. So they have been very successful so far. So, what message I would like to give, and something that I can tell in your eyes and your voice when you speak, you're very passionate about people telling their stories and advocating for what it is. It's the same belief that I have. You know, and I know there's so many problems out there in the world, be it female genitation, be it sanitary towels, but knowing is different to listening and understanding what they go through. And once we get all these girls, or as many as we can, to share their voice and actually explain to the world the struggles they go through, is the only way that I believe we're going to make a positive impact. Even when you're going to get donors, when you're going to get funding for activities, you're only going to get them when they actually understand what they go through. You can see this happening all the time, but you never would understand what they go through until they tell you, or you see it and hear it with your own ears. And therefore, I really appreciate you creating this platform for Narrate Your Story, because this is where everyone gets to share their voices, and we'll all together make a difference for one and another. And we'll also be able to impact more girls, more women to share their stories. So we'll be able to help them and make a difference one step at a time.
Wow, you have given me a thought, and thank you so much. This is what this show is all about. I think that I am going to have a provide a platform for some of these girls to come to this platform and share their story. And you're absolutely right. People can be listening, but until you hear it from the person, until you hear it from these girls, you may not understand exactly how it is until the person that have gone through it telling you what they have encountered, the impact those has have, the impact it has on them. You will never fully understand. Even I am listening to you. I read about it. I have seen it. I was born and raised in Nigeria, and so I totally understand. But until you've gone through it yourself, you don't understand. So I am going to take that and offer my platform to these girls so that they can come here. Some of them will be able to come here and share this story. And maybe there's somebody out there that listening to this or will be listening to those girls that will really do something. Because my goal in sharing this platform, you never know what people are going through. You never know who's listening, who's watching, and they are all also able to make a change, create a change. And creating a change is what life is all about. So thank you for talking about it. Thank you for bringing up the issue that oftentimes, especially if you live in a Western society, that you don't hear much about it. But if you live in other countries, other cultures, most likely you've heard about what you're going through. I did not know that when you're talking about the sanitary towel, I didn't know it's such a big deal until I heard it from Dr. Tracy Ward. I mean, it really, really surprised me that women are still going through that. And so we go back in the old days, whether we're using the towel, whether we're using the paper, whatever, during that time of the month. I mean, it's I can't even imagine, even up till today. I think we still have a lot to do. We really still have a lot to do, especially with our young girls, because some of them, here comes the infection. Some of them may die in the process. And as you know, and I know, there may not be enough money to help them at that time when it's so critical for them to get the help and the medical need that they definitely need at that time. So thank you so much again. So as we're coming towards the end of this conversation, talk to the youths. I want you to take the time and talk to the youth. They are listening because this is going to be viral and you never know whose life you're going to impact by what you say because words have power. Words have power. So take some time, take some moment and talk to the youth out there. Empower them. Take the floor.
Thank you. I would just have some simple messages to give the youth. The first one is have passion and drive for everything that you do and believe it. Number two, have the courage to do it. Number three, if you do not know, ask. Number four, dream with your eyes open. That is going to be the biggest change maker. And number five, don't try to be anyone, just be yourself, and you can do it. And we believe in you.
Awesome. You know, I've always said that uncovering your uniqueness can lead to discovering the greatest in you. And when I think about the women, they're here, and oftentimes some of them are not being heard. They're here, they're seen, but oftentimes they are not being heard. And in my work, I've also experienced that in working with the women. You talked about the microfinance, helping these women get something doing, helping them start something to be able to feed their family. What can you talk about right now that as a woman that is going through that, not being able to feed the children, not being able to put food on the table, maybe they are single parents, a single mom going through that right now. I want you to just go somewhere in your heart and empower these women.
Well, Dr. Christie, I think there's a little more to it because in a lot of African countries, as you know, even having a man around doesn't mean that he provides for you or your children. So it's usually always been the women's job, and the women are the ones who have always been the hustlers. And the one thing, you know, for them, it's something that has always been within because they did not have a choice. They just do not have a choice. But what they do have a choice is that I really admire, especially about African women. I can't really talk about other nationalities. The fact that they have a drive and they have a heart to do what they are doing. I would like to just tell them, be yourselves, keep empowering. You don't realize it, but you are a hero to someone else. They don't realize it, but even seeing a hawker on the street selling vegetables, the fact that she's there every single day, no sick days off, working 12 hours, she's an inspiration to someone out there. I would like to, they're always one main goal, and the reason they do anything is not even for the money, it's to look after themselves. Most of them live hand to mouth, and they just always work so hard that no one can describe. But the most important thing is that they always serve with a smile.
Mm.
And the fact that they're doing the best for their children, even in the capacity they have, is something that I truly admire about them. They're always trying their level best one way or another to improve the quality of life, not for them, but for their children. And they don't see it, but their child is getting a bright future of everything that they do. And for that, they are, I can't say anymore, but they are just Wonder Women that no one is able to see the power in them.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. I appreciate the point that you are bringing because I also grew up in Africa. So I understand the challenges that these women do. Sometimes I don't even know how they do it. You will see people with 12, 13, 15, 18 children, right? And some of them I can't even talk. I don't know how they manage to do. They're so resourceful, and sometimes they are single mom, and they still raise those children from hand to mouth. Whatever they're getting vegetables from their farm, they're getting fruits from their farm, and they are taking it to the market. Sometimes I just don't know how they do it, but they do. They do. And if you are a woman out there that is going through something like that right now, I want you to know that the world has not forgotten you. It may seem like we have forgotten you. It may seem like no one really cares. It may seem like nobody validates who you are because that's so important. Validating who you are, that you do matter. I want you to know that we appreciate the work that you do. We appreciate the work that you do. We want you to have faith and know there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Because I tell you, when I work with these women, the women that I work with, helping them narrate their story, there's nothing that sometimes it's not about money, and oftentimes people think it's about money. It's about feeling that you matter to someone, that you make a difference because of your existence, that somebody can validate you, that what you have to say matters. Because when you cannot embrace who you are for whatever reason, when you cannot express yourself, it's very difficult for you to emerge to be the person that you are created to be. So if you can hear us talking now, listen, I want you to know I appreciate you. We appreciate you. And we don't want you to stop doing what you do because you do matter. So, Dr. Sanyan, as we come to the close, I'll give you the floor to talk about anything that you want to talk about, your work, anything at all that you want to talk about as we close. You have the floor for the final word.
No, thank you, Dr. Christie. And as I say my final word, I would like to appreciate you. I can also see the passion in your voice and your eyes and your heart in what you're doing for all these women. And for that, I really congratulate and admire you. And I also thank you for giving me and other women and men out there to share their voices. And together, I would like everyone to who's listening to just note in a very simple terms that alone we can only do so much, but together we can do a lot more. So start sharing your voices, start telling your stories. Everyone has a story, and we're all here to listen. And together, we're going to do great work and we're going to be able to live a legacy and a brighter future. And with that, once again, I would like to thank you, Dr. Christie.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your time, audience. Thank you all for listening, for watching, and don't forget to leave your comments. Don't forget to leave your comments. We do this show every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's right. Every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I hope that you join us every Monday at 9 a.m. Until next time, everybody. Dr. Sanyon, thank you so much. Take care,
Thank
and
you.
I'll see you around. Bye bye now. Bye.